You've been thinking for a while about which car you want to purchase. You've been looking around on the road, seeing what catches your eye, doing research, reading reviews, looking into reliability. You've narrowed it down and you think you know what you want. You need to go test drive the car to see if it really is going to work for you. Once you arrive at the dealership, but before you take the car for a spin, I have 10 things you need to look for. We'll go over those 10 things today on Women Buying Cars. You're listening to Women Buying Cars, and I'm your host, Meredith Reynolds. I'm a former teacher turned used car dealer, and I'm here to teach and empower you to walk into a car dealership with confidence and walk out with the car that's right for you. Welcome to Season 2 of Women Buying Cars. I am so thrilled to be here. My name is Meredith Reynolds, and I am grateful to you for joining me today. It is a new year. Do you have any resolutions? I have one resolution. I resolved to not read the news after 6 p.m. every night. Because what I was finding was I was winding down in the evening, getting to a point where I didn't have anything going on, and it was a terrible habit to doom scroll. I was constantly checking the news in the evening to see what other horrible thing may have happened since the last time I checked the news. It's not good for my mental health. And it's sucking up so much of my time that I could be doing something constructive. So that is my resolution. Let me tell you, it has not been easy. Today's the 8th, but I have not given in. I have been trying to tell myself, whatever has happened, I can read about it in the morning. Because I do read the news, I do check in, I like the news. Well, I don't like it. It's kind of partly a habit, but I am interested in what's going on in the world and in our country. But it has been really good for me to have a specific deadline because I have a tendency to make resolutions like, I'm going to exercise more. Well, you can't measure more. What does more mean? It's very subjective. And so that is my tendency, though, because I don't want to commit myself to something that I don't think I'll actually follow through on. So making this very specific time limit has helped me a lot. So I hope you've made some good resolutions. If not, you can still do it. It's arbitrary to pick it January 1st. You can resolve to do things better at any point. Last year, my New Year's resolution was to create this podcast, and I did it. I would love to encourage you to do something that you think you can't do, or something that you have a desire to do, but you don't know where to even begin. I want to encourage you to just do it. Getting started is the hardest part. Once you get started on something, then you just continue doing that, continue following the steps. It's much easier. But taking that leap is hard. And I just hope that you will focus on something that you've always wanted to do. So we are here on Season 2, and I'm very excited to get started. I've had a little hiatus at the end of 2025, but now I'm back. So today I'm going to tell you what you should be looking for before your test drive, while you're at the dealership, but before you actually go drive the car. It's tempting to just take the key, get in, and head out. But I want you to look for these 10 things before you get started. I have not listed these in order of importance. I tried to list them in the order that you would actually do these things. Number 1, I want you to look all around the outside of the car and determine if you can deal with any imperfections that you find. What is your limit on imperfections? I say that because if you're buying a used car, there will be imperfections. We assume they won't be severe, but if it's used, it's years old. and it's been driven in the elements next to other drivers, parked next to other drivers and humans walking past it, you're just going to have to expect that there will be some hairline scratches here and there, or a tiny little dent, like smaller than a dime. Okay. Sometimes people get hung up on that stuff. And I suspect those people never end up buying a car, or at least not a used one, because it never meets perfection. Okay. If you're buying a new car, that's different. So really inspect it top to bottom, looking at it from different angles, because sometimes hail damage can kind of hide depending on the light. So, kind of look at the hood and then squat down 6 inches and look at it still and move back and forth to get different viewpoints to see if you can see anything like that. So just decide what you can live with. If there are things you could talk to the car dealership about, if you feel there are scratches that could potentially be touched up with some paint or hail damage that you would like removed, maybe they will do that, maybe they won't. But just look at it really well, top to bottom. Number 2, you need to look at the tires. I'm going to do an entire episode about tire care, but for the test drive, what you really need to look for is that there's a lot of tread on the tires, that the grooves are thick. Here's an easy trick to help you determine if there's enough tread. Come prepared with a penny. Take that penny, turn it upside down, and put it head first into one of the grooves. If you can see his entire head, you need new tires. The crown of his head should be covered. So that is a quick, easy check for you. Number 3, you probably see people lift the hood, look under the hood. What exactly are they looking at? What are you supposed to be looking at? If you lift the hood, what are you looking for? Well, one thing you can look for is the battery. Look for a date on the battery. You don't want the battery more than 4 years old. Okay, so if it's 4 years old or older, then talk to them about getting you a new battery. Next, go ahead and sit down in the car. Number 4, is the seat comfortable? You're going to be sitting in this car quite a bit over the years. So does it have lumbar support? Can you adjust the seat so that you're in a really good position? Make sure that you are comfortable. If you're really tall, does the headrest come up high enough for you? Number 5 is visibility. Here's what happens sometimes. We set our sights on a car that we really want, and then we overlook some of the negatives because we really want this car. I'm talking about the people who have their sights set on a car they've wanted for a long time, like a Jeep Wrangler. It's just been your dream to have a Jeep Wrangler. And then when you sit in the Jeep Wrangler, you just kind of overlook some of the negatives because you don't want to admit there are negatives. You want this car. But down the road, those negatives will catch up to you. So one thing that's really important is that you are paying attention to the visibility. Can you see well out of the car? A lot of times, a small, sporty car, it doesn't have to be a sports car, but sporty, that are on the smaller side, they have small back windows, and you can't see a lot when you're backing up. Now, we all rely on backup cameras, but it's still a good idea to be able to see out the back. So really ask yourself if you have enough visibility. For someone like me who's tall and long-waisted, sometimes smaller cars don't have a long enough windshield for me. And the top of the windshield, like the trim, is actually in some of my sight line. Well, that's a problem. Really ask yourself if you can see well out of this vehicle. You can adjust your seat up and down. Okay, the seat doesn't just go forward and backwards. You need to make sure you can get it in a position that's comfortable for you, especially if you're not of average height. You can also raise the seat up or lower it back down to accommodate your particular height. Now it's time for a little segment I like to call Cars I Love. The car I love today is the Kia Telluride. We have a Kia Telluride on our lot right now, and I am in love with this car. I do not need a 3-row SUV, which is what this is, but if I did, this would be at the top of my list. I borrowed it for a little while and drove around in it. I drove down to my mother's house for Thanksgiving, which was about a 3.5-hour drive, and I just love this car. Like I said, it's 3 rows. Depending on the trim level, it can seat 7 or 8. And the first thing that gets me is that it's just really good looking. If you look at just the little details that make a car go from boring to really good looking, things like the wheels and the grille or just the lines of the car, it's just really attractive. It's been compared to Range Rover, which I also really think is good looking, but significantly less expensive than a Range Rover and more reliable over time. So I love the looks. Inside, the interior is very cushy and feels like a luxury car as well. Nice big seats that can be adjusted in multiple ways. Tons of safety features. If you're using a bench seat and you need to help someone get to the 3rd row, there's just a button on top of the bench seat that pushes the seat forward. So it's easy. A lot of Hondas, like a Pilot or a minivan, you have to pull a strap and then push the seat up, which is not really very kid-friendly. So this button makes life very easy. There's a lot of leg room in the 2nd row. 3rd row, like a lot of 3rd rows, I don't know if you would fit 3 adults back there. It would be pretty cramped. But 3 children or a teen and some kids, that kind of combination, you can make it work if you need to. The trunk space, a 3-row SUV, you don't have a ton of space, but you are going to get more space back there on the Kia than you would on a Honda Pilot or Toyota Highlander. Also, you can lift up the base of the trunk, and there's another little secret compartment down in there. Great for whatever little treasures you need to hide. The Kia Telluride had a lot of get up and go. It's a V6. And one thing that I noticed, I've never noticed this on a car, so it's a little strange that this would matter to me, but I noticed that it corners really well. I usually don't like driving large SUVs, especially when you have to pull into a parking space. But pulling this into a parking space felt like I was pulling a car into it. I mean, it cornered and just whipped into that parking space so well. I noticed it every time. I never had to stop, back up, try again. It really is easy to drive. So if you need a 3-row SUV and you want one that is quite luxurious without a high luxury price tag, you should consider the Kia Telluride. All right, now let's talk more about looking over your car. Number 6, while you're sitting there, look to see if the radio and the heating and air conditioning is controlled by a dial, or if it's a touch screen, or if you care. Maybe you don't care either way. But I am meeting more and more people who are wanting a dial because that's what we've always had. And they just find the touch screen too complicated or distracting. And I understand this. There are some cars, and I'm looking at you, Cadillac, that you have to take a couple of steps to get to the heating and air conditioning. Like if you don't want the air on your face anymore, you want it on your feet, you've got to click around on the touchscreen to get to that. I don't like that either. I also don't like having to touch the touchscreen to raise the volume of the radio. I also like a dial. So if that matters to you, then pay attention because it could become an irritation and a distraction. I want to be able to mess with the radio or the AC without having to really look. I just want to be able to do it. If it is a deal breaker for you, ask your salesperson which cars you should be looking at that have a less high-tech console. Number 7, speaking of buttons, you need to check all the buttons to see if things work. Raise and lower all the windows. Use the lock and unlock. Test out the sunroof. Make sure it opens all the way. Use the radio. Go through a few stations. Check your mirrors. Make sure the mirrors are adjustable. Tilt the steering wheel so that it's at the height that you want it to be. If you have long legs, get the seat where you need it, and then look at the back seat. Does someone sitting back there have enough leg room? Could an adult sit behind you if they needed to? Also, if your own personal music is really important to you in the car, then make sure your phone is going to work. If you want to use Bluetooth, make sure it has Bluetooth. If you want to use Apple CarPlay, make sure it has that. Don't just trust the listing that says it had it. It could have been a mistake. If you need to plug your phone in, then bring a cord with you and plug it in to make sure that it works. I have a USB port in my car that doesn't work. So you need to find that out before you buy the car and are unhappy. Number 8, can you easily get in and out of the car? Again, this is for those emotional buyers who have really wanted this little sports car or really wanted this lifted Jeep. Those can be hard to get in and out of. Things that are really low to the ground or things that are really high off the ground, and depending on your particular stature. So, is it reasonable to think you can easily get in and out of this car? Could your children get in and out easily if you have them? If you have little kids? Do you really want a 2-door? Probably not, especially if you're taking them to school or picking them up from school. Do your elderly parents ride with you a lot? Will they be able to get in and out? If you are buying a 3-row SUV, how hard will it be for people to get to the 3rd row? It depends on if the 2nd row is a full bench or captain's chairs. It depends on if a 4-year-old is getting in the very back or a 14-year-old or an 84-year-old. So make sure you're looking at all of that really closely. Number 9, start the car and see if there are any warning lights on. These days, there are a lot of safety features that are often lit up on the dash. If you don't know what something is, just ask. You don't want to think that something is a warning when really it's just telling you that the crash detection warning is on. If you see an exclamation point, that is the TPMS. That is monitoring the tire pressure. Sometimes I've had people say, oh, the check engine light's on, when really it was just the tire pressure monitor. It's an exclamation point, so it makes you think that there's something to panic about, but it could just mean that one tire needs a little bit of air. So again, if you don't know what the lights are, ask. And number 10, this one you won't need any reminders for. Does it smell bad? It is so difficult to get cigarette smoke and marijuana smoke smell out of a car. If that's going to bother you, it's probably always going to bother you. One of the best remedies we've found is having the entire headliner, meaning that fabric that covers the ceiling of the car, completely replaced. And that wraps up my 10 things you should be looking for before you leave on your test drive. My next episode will be what you need to be looking for and listening for during the test drive. So make sure you listen to that episode as well. If this has been helpful to you, I would so appreciate a 5-star review. That really helps me grow the podcast and helps more people find it. Thanks so much for joining me on season 2, and happy driving.